Thank you for joining our digital transformation Snacktime Snippets. I'm Bill Marcial, Director of Enterprise Architecture at XTIVIA. Today I have Karen, one of my technical architects, who will be joining me in a discussion on Kubernetes. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Bill. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine.
Perfect,
Well.
perfect. So let's talk a little bit about Kubernetes, Karen. That is a big buzzword in the industry. And all I hear is Kubernetes, and everybody should be using Kubernetes. Now, from my understanding, there are three main things that Kubernetes really brings to the table. One is it makes workloads portable. Two, container scalable. And three, we can build extendable applications. But how do we do this? You know, what is the magical source behind this Kubernetes? Can you give me an insight on why everyone's talking about Kubernetes?
Yeah. See, at the end of the day, Kubernetes follows something called master and node architecture. Like it sounds like master, but it's master and slave architecture. So there will be one master node who is checking all the other slave nodes. This can be a dedicated machines, virtual machines, or processor, high-end memory machines, where the containers are really running. So there will be a master node sitting there and keep on monitoring on each node, and it registers all the available spaces and available RAM and whatever needed to launch the container. It has all the database. So whenever a new request comes to launch a container, then it knows where exactly which machine it should go and what it needs to be done to launch a new container, and in that so to launch a new application. So it's also called a gatekeeper pattern, but master slave will be better understanding.
Yeah, but that just tells me that what you just described there was basically that you can actually scale the containers horizontally. So you can continue to add containers.
Absolutely. It's horizontal, not vertical. It's you just mention certain declarative script to the Kubernetes to give the Kubernetes master, and based on the whatever information you have given, say for example, you have given that a certain period of time I need 4 containers, and then certain period of time that 4 should be reduced to 2. Then this declarative program you ingest into master, and master will do all for you. You don't need to then look over anything. Just master will automatically port those four containers, then it bring back from 4 to 2 automatically.
Perfect. So it basically, scales up and scales down as required.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But how does it make applications extendable? I mean, can you explain that to me? How does it work to extend applications or build extendable applications? One of the key things that everyone's saying, well, you can build extendable applications with Kubernetes, but how?
Yeah. When it comes to extensible application, is something which we based on traffic or based on the requirement. It is to it has to serve certain load and serve certain functionalities based on requirement which is not defined, which is not stable at all. Like you have to see, for example, if you are not sure that certain which part of the month that its traffic will spike, but then at least you should go with the processor. Okay, if my processor goes to 70%, then extend my app to another 4 containers. So it is something like that. And moreover, it has internal load balancer. Kubernetes has all these networking things set up internally. So it automatically gives a load balancer to the containers. So you put as many containers as you want. There will be a load balancer, and you will have at the end of the day one endpoint. But in that underneath this one endpoint, there will be several containers processing your request. So in that way, it's very extensive. I mean, you can build apps which can extend based on certain conditions and requirements. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So there was one more question that I had, right? We talked about 3 different areas: scaling containers, building extendable applications, and then managing workloads. Talk to me about how do you manage the workload?
Yeah, it's a good question. See, a kind of, for example, ETL jobs. Usually they run at the midnight, and then they only run at certain point of time, like some hours or some days. But it won't always run. We don't need to put those in 24/7 machines. So what you have to do is, but the thing is, if you, because you only need to run in certain point of time, so you only want CPU time or a processor only, I mean, or a virtual machine only for certain period of time, right? So what you can do is you can tell masters, okay, I need, you have to launch 5 nodes for me at this point of time, and bring back to 2 nodes at this point of time, because those 5 nodes I need to run this work. I mean, it's not like a container scale up, scale down. It is completely like infrastructure scale up, scale down. Say if you want to run that workloads, then you launch thus all the nodes, and once you've done that workload, kill all the nodes, and then master will sit empty with 1 node, because at least 1 node is mandatory. So at least 1 node. So when you launch the workload, it will be 5, and once it's done, it will back to 1. So all that infrastructure cost will be reduced. So we can manage the workload likewise, and at the same time, workload needs a lot of DB or some persistent storage connectivity.
Okay.
Likewise, like if you are not talking about Kubernetes world, then obviously you have dedicated persistence. Likewise, for Kubernetes also, you can put any kind of persistence layer. In this, one of them is temp storage. Like you only need to storage for certain time. Then you once the workload is done, then you need to kill that. It is called temp storage. Usually in ETL, it's called a stage storage, something like you put for some time, then once done, you just throw it away. So if it is non-Kubernetes world, then the stage storage, we have to always keep it alive, because there is no way that you can bring it down. But because if it is Kubernetes world and containers are, you can dynamically make it up and down. So when you need this stage storage facility, you bring those 4 or 5 containers up and put all the information over there. And once you workload done, then our containers will be anyway died. And then obviously when containers died, the temp storage will die. So in that way, you can do workload management better in Kubernetes than non-Kubernetes world. Yeah.
Okay. I have one final question for you, Karen. My understanding is that Docker's comes with Kubernetes as a default. Why does it come as a default? Can't you use other products out there other than Docker's with Kubernetes?
Yes, certainly we can use it. Certainly, Kubernetes supports multiple container runtimes, but because Docker is now become almost like a standard for this container world. So Kubernetes automatically build it. It gives Docker runtime built in. When you launch default Kubernetes, a Docker runtime is already available for you, and you can just do your production deployments. But if you want another one, obviously there is little bit configuration is needed, where you just use another runtime, where at the installation, I mean at the setup, during the setup of the Kubernetes, you have to do certain things, and then Docker will go and another container runtime will come. That's the simplest answer, is because the Docker is almost took major part of the industry, and it's there, like it was the first commercial, what is it, not commercial, but it was the first major buzzword in the container. For the Docker is the major buzzword in the container world. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Karen. This was very informative. That concludes our digital transformation snack time snippets. We look forward to more digital transformation snippets in the near future.